I'm excited about this next part of our time together because now we're going to get to spend some time with Nick Arvon. And Nick, you have been through this whole process that Matt just described, and both the bumps and the highs and the lows, and would just love for you to share. We'll go through a few questions here and just share kind of what that process was like for you. But before we do that, maybe you can share with the group. We've got your bio up there and about your credit union on the screen, but maybe you could just share a little bit about yourself and your role at the credit union, how long you've been there, and a few other things you think would be helpful.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Matt made me look smart, or not me, really our whole team, because the summary he just provided is definitely every step that you should consider in the whole process. And a little bit about myself to get started with. I have about 35 years experience. About over 20 years of that has been as a CEO of a credit union. I'm currently with West Virginia Federal Credit Union, been here for about 9 years. I was 13 years at a smaller credit union that it was a SEG group in nearby Charleston. And before that, I'm a CPA by trade. Been a CPA since '87 and had great opportunities to learn and gain the experience necessary to be a CEO through specialization in auditing and consulting with banks and credit unions in the state of West Virginia. So that's me.
You've been around the horn just a little bit, so
a little bit.
So take us to what happened. It was a couple of years ago that you guys reached a point where making a change in your core system was a strategic initiative for you guys and something that you thought about really doing it. And had it, the saying is sort of the pain of change. When it's great, when it's less than the pain of staying the same, it's time to go. And is that what occurred for you guys? Did you reach a place where, gosh, we're just not where we need to be anymore, or we're not going to be where we need to be as a credit anymore? What pains were you guys experiencing that made a change important to y'all?
Pain everywhere, I guess, is the best way to put it. When I came here, you could see right off the bat that I had experience with another core, and the system we were using wasn't being used to the fullest extent, didn't have the buy-in of the people. No one understood it. When we tried to understand it, just didn't get a lot of support. Was at that time, and that was 9 years ago, we had some changes in brought a new CFO in, new lead collector, new compliance officer, operations officer. So we all had fresh ideas and looks, and all of us came to the conclusion that this system wasn't for us. But we were talked into give it a chance. And so we spent money, did training, tried to learn it ourselves, did all this work. And it took another 5 years to figure out that this is definitely not the system for us. And we decided to make a change with no premeditation as to who to pick. And that was the hard choice, because it's a huge decision. And as Matt alluded, there's a lot of pain involved in it that really isn't as bad as you think, and it's not long lasting, but it is commitment.
So in some ways, it sounds like you followed that process where you really did try to take the emotion out of it. You involved your existing vendor or your previous vendor and tried to make that relationship work, and just looked at the facts. And then when you went through that process, then it got to the point where it said, okay, now we need to move on to another alternative, is where you guys got to.
It was. I think we did start probably a couple years ahead of when we wanted to make that decision. And we did narrow it down to 3 vendors plus the existing core, which we really, you know, didn't prefer. And we did our due diligence. You know, we tried to find the three that fit us best, or we thought would fit us the best, and we involved our senior management team, and we did site visits. And when it came down to it, we chose Sharetec.
Awesome. So were there specific things that were going on inside the credit union, maybe in the accounting area or the lending area, where you were able to take that list of, Matt mentioned the pros and cons list, and that was something that maybe you guys did that was helpful in going through that process?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, I'm the CEO, and I'm more of the generalist, and I hire the best specialists we can find. And so, I took our senior lender, who has 35 years experience, and my new CFO, who has 10 years experience, but he also was with a CPA firm, so he did a lot of bank and credit union audits. So he gets to see and assess the internal control environment, the data processing systems, and reporting systems, all this. And so, and then we had our operations officer, and we just said, hey, pick your pain points. What do you like? What are you looking for? What do you don't want to live without?
Sure.
And we just started inquiry, and it went from there, gaining the knowledge of each. One thing I didn't do is I didn't want to taint opinion or judgment. I didn't want somebody to say, well, Nick likes it, so I want to like it. I kind of told them I don't want to discuss this openly right off the bat. Go back, jot down your thoughts, and then I kind of met with them independently before we got in a group, because I did not want, how personalities are. Some people go along with the group, and some people have the independent ideas. I wanted to get their true thoughts, and it worked, because I think we picked the best system.
I appreciate that. We love having you as a customer too. So
thank you.
Did you also find there were things on the membership side? Maybe there were tools that you didn't have that was also driving some of that. Obviously, having the tools available to serve in a modern membership world is a critical piece of it. How did that fit into some of your decision making as well?
Yeah, I mean, technology is where the future is. I mean, you have to differentiate yourself, because the member if you're going to be a full service financial institution, the member is going to expect you to do what the $1 billion bank does down the street. Whether it's a branch of that bank, it's still, to them, they have the resources, and our resources are very limited. So obviously you have to differentiate with service, and credit unions do the best at that. Just the way we're set up.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to have the technology, and it starts with the core. And it's the core, and then as Matt mentioned earlier too, you got to assess. That's one of our pain points that we wanted to kind of that drove our decision. We had so many third-party relationships, and as everybody in the listening to this today is aware, NCUA several years ago, really started coming down on third-party due diligence and know your third parties, and now it's not know your fourth parties, because everything is so specialized. It's very hard for a core to do everything and be everything for you. So that core goes out and finds the best vendor and utilizes that and integrates it into their system too. So we were looking for a core that would help ease that third party burden on us. And we would leverage their knowledge of the industry and expertise and go pick the best bill pay providers and best mobile app or home banking third party, which actually Sharetec has it all kind of built into the core, the home banking, which is great. It's working great. We've not had any issues whatsoever, which has been tremendous help, obviously during the COVID experiences that we've had. That has been a talk several times in our board meetings as to has member service been impacted with the lobby. Our lobby is still closed. It's by appointment only. It's not really closed. That's what we tell our members. Hey, why aren't you open? We are open. It's just by appointment only.
Yep.
And so our loans have actually been up even through the COVID period. One thing that we did not do at the conversion site, because it was such a big conversion, is what we felt, because we had a lot of third parties that also had to convert at the same time. It wasn't just the core. At the time, we had a different third party that handled our mobile app, a different third party that handled our home banking, a different third party software that ran our collections. We had a different third party that did our mortgage processing, which has been a great plus on the Sharetec system, because it's kind of integrated in, the mortgage accounting or the mortgage escrow is incorporated into the core. You don't have to use a third party unless you want to, other than use of the forms. And it was just a monumental task. So we didn't implement some of the things that we're just now getting around to. We wanted to give our members time to digest the change and et cetera. And then we were going to implement WebEx, WebMS, member service, the digital.
Could be Meridian Link, or there's a couple different tools we have in that area. So
yeah, something to that nature. And then we just implemented Portal Pay. We're doing the financial institution transfers. We're just implementing that. But the WebMS, I think, is what I was thinking of.
Okay.
That's just a more or less where the members can go in and open up some of the member service accounts online. They don't have to come in to do things. And then we incorporate the, I guess it's remote e-signatures, so e-sign, so that, we actually are just testing that now in the test phase, and have done several of those where the member doesn't have to come into the credit union. Those documents are emailed to them, the secure portal, and documents are signed, and everything's electronic and remote. And we have all the tools we need, and we still haven't decided to do some of the things that Sharetec offers because of either cost benefit or really expertise. I mean, you got to really assess your internal talent and buy-in. You just can't go do something. You have to have the ability to handle what you want, all the products and services. So we've been just taking it in baby steps and implementing everything that's out there to implement.
So you're not eating the whole elephant at once, as they say.
Oh, no. And I'm sure our client executive, Jay Malcolm, would like us to. But no, we actually, Jay's been great, because that's how we kind of plan our next steps. That's how we plan our future budgets. Hey, what's new, what's coming down, how much is it going to cost us, what's involved in it, and we just decide, is it ready? Are we ready for it?
Sure. Nick, might be helpful also for the folks on the call here to just hear a little bit about the conversion process. I know when we had a chance to catch up before this call, just that you spoke to what the feelings were coming into conversion, and even those first few days and then the tail end, and how can credit unions really prepare for a conversion? Because I think that that's something that typically a credit union will hold off on making a decision because the conversion can be an intimidating thought. So could you speak to that just a little bit to give some people insight on how you guys handled that?
Yeah, I guess, I said I had 35 years experience, but I was a rookie at conversions. I'd heard all the war stories and horror stories, and it was very stressful. That's the best way to put it. But as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it was stressful, but it, um, it's over in a short period of time. But the keys are planning and
Mm.
focus. I mean, it really is. Start early. I'm not going to go through the Mac presentation again because every one of those, you need to replay this and write them down because every step is very critical in the process. But you got to plan. You got, in my mind, you definitely have to listen to the conversion team.
Mm.
Um, Everything they said was true. And they told you where your pain points were primarily going to be. They told you that the importance was you need to, train the trainer. Definitely train the trainer. And in our case, you know, you're expert in lending. You gotta have that expert in lending because it's kind of a separate department.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have that train the trainer in the accounting area. Actually, accounting is probably the most critical part, from my standpoint, because that's where you got to balance. You got
Sure.
all your trouble afterwards, and that's where your prayers are answered. In that first day after, when are we going to be able to go live? But there's your GLs, got to interface with the new cord and the ACHs and the settlements and all that process has got to be a lot of planning,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of just a lot of time commitment up front to make sure you understand how everything works. Actually, our team we were just joking that how much you learn just kind of in the setup process is just amazing,
Yeah.
and that how valuable that knowledge and experience is because you really kind of understand it, and you're almost itching. It's like, I guess, practicing for that first game of the season or something to that nature. You're
Sure.
just itching and ready to go when conversion date comes. But the planning and focus is critical. It's a commitment that all your staff, particularly the management, though, that needs to understand because we had to black out for vacations.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the month before and the month after because we didn't know what was going to happen afterwards. We were really ready in 2 weeks afterwards. It really wasn't as bad as we envisioned it could be. But that first day, I don't know how to describe it. It's just you got to. I don't know if you can be prepared for it. Even though the conversion team kept saying that first day, that first day,
Yeah.
that first day, and that first day is just overwhelming. Just because, well, I shouldn't say the first day because the first day you're not really live,
Mm.
and and so you're kind of balancing, and you're telling people that you're not going to be open
Sure.
because of the conversion. So we opened early because we did balance about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I think it was in the afternoon, and so we had like a soft opening, uh, but which was good. And then, but the next day, when that first day, it was like the phones never stopped.
Mm.
And that's the thing to remember. And it's not just the phones, because again, you realize how much digital banking, how important it is. Because
Yeah.
all it was how do I log in? Because our we didn't do a conversion. We in our old home banking, we didn't have the same security features
Sure.
as Sharetec did. And we wanted that, but we just didn't have it. And so the dual authentication or the security questions or whatever, the 8-digit password minimum, we were a little lax on that. So, but the biggest thing we didn't do is our system. You had to previously you had to share your logon information with all the owners, and it wasn't like it is today with Sharetec, which is great in individual user. And so therefore it was, we didn't do the conversion of your username and password. And so it was more or less a whole new enrollment. And so that was all new to our membership. It's the phones rang off the hook, and just as many people came into the credit union lobby. Well, I've never seen that many people in the lobby. I mean, it is like nonstop from opening to close.
Like you're giving away a motorcycle or something.
Oh, it was amazing. It was, and that's why I hire the experts. They do the work. I just take all the credit. But yeah. So, but I went down to the teller line, and I mean, it was the most stressful experience I ever had. I came back up after 2 days. I said, I'm not going back down there. I may not make it.
But by the end of the week, how was it by the end of the week?
It was incredible. Because I remember this first and second day, I came up to our conversion team leader, Bob, and I said, Bob, you guys got to stay here longer. He said, no, we'll be here a week. We'll be fine. He's 5 business days. And his rest of his team said, yeah, that's all you. Don't worry. It's going to get better. It's not going to get better. We can't handle it. You're doing it. And it was amazing. The first day, the tellers were down there. And of course, I'm looking, and, they had to stay a couple hours late for balancing. And I thought, oh, my goodness. It wasn't anything major, but it was just the balancing process. Second day, we had a couple tellers that had never really balanced on time. I mean, under the old system or anything. They balanced. I think that gave everybody the confidence. And next thing we know, it was boom, boom, boom. It's like by the 5th day, everybody was good, and everything, we handled it perfect. That's first 5 days.
That's awesome.
And I can't say that for the accounting area. The accounting area had a little bit longer. But no, the accounting area was the ACH issues. That's one thing that you have to plan for is when you have that core system and how ACHs come in and auto post, and you have mismatches, and sometimes your core systems you can build, I call them bridges, but or you know where to go post it. And our team, because of past history and they just some of those things just didn't happen. So we had a lot of non-posts until we could get things figured out.
Yep. Well, I know we're gonna run out of time here pretty quickly, so I think it was Matlock who said, "Never ask a question you don't know the answer to." But I'm going to ask one last question, then I'm going to turn it back over to Matt. Can you just say, did the system impact from a financial standpoint? Are you seeing realizations of modernizing, picking up new functionality, but also maybe some efficiencies from a cost standpoint? Is that something that you're realizing in making changes? So modernization doesn't always need to cost more, I guess is what I'm trying to figure out.
Right, it does not. And from our previous core, obviously there was some monetary savings for sure. The staff efficiency, we're big in internal controls because of our background. We're very conservative, being working at accounting firms. You're always interested in the internal controls and how that might impact you. So we're just there is efficiencies with the process, and how deep you want to get into that is really an individual preference. We're getting more on multitasking. The teller platform was very easy for our tellers to learn, and the new account process, it's in that same platform. So you can have some multitasking there. We still haven't fully implemented that to the extent we could. But there's so many ways that I see that we can strive to get the system reportings of red flag areas that to look at for management's attention and things to that nature to help us you know be efficient at what we do. And
Awesome.
yes, there is a lot of cost savings, and not only it's not only cost savings um, in the cost of the core itself, but it's just in the ability to do other things. Again, taking the time off of us of having to manage other third party relationships. We kind of let Sharetec pick that best third party to use to interface to do this, to do the statement printing, to do they're coming up with text messaging because that is one of the things that our members are really pushing for is the use of text messaging to to do things and to communicate. And it's all been at ShareTech. Everybody that I talked to before we were converting, they're saying, "Oh, well, you're with a big company. Why would you want to go away from them?" You know, there's a lot of smaller companies that actually do a better job,
Mm.
and you get the same apple that you get from the big company, except you get the differentiation of service. That's one of the things that everybody here has talked about since conversion is the support level, the timeliness of any resolution of the support, the responsiveness. There's been no complaints at all.
Awesome. Nick, I appreciate that feedback, and hopefully that's helpful for everyone to hear as well.